Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving deep into a topic that has been getting a lot of attention lately. We're talking about the 10 hidden female weaknesses men need to know now through the lens of Stoicism. But don't get me wrong, this isn't about exploiting or belittling anyone. Instead, we're going to take a thoughtful, respectful look at some vulnerabilities that exist in human nature, particularly within women, and how understanding them through Stoic principles can help us build stronger, more meaningful relationships. Now, I know when we hear the word weakness, it can come across as a negative thing. But in Stoic philosophy, weaknesses aren't necessarily bad. They're areas where growth and self-awareness are possible. So let's take a moment to acknowledge that we all have strengths and vulnerabilities, and it's about how we approach and understand them that matters. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's dig in. Before we jump into specifics, let's briefly talk about Stoicism, because this philosophy is going to be our guide today. Stoicism teaches us how to approach life with resilience and clarity, and it emphasizes virtue, wisdom, courage, and self-control. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about understanding them and using them to better navigate life. What issue Stoicism offers is the ability to focus on what we can control, and often it's our reactions to external circumstances and emotions that we can adjust. When you look at relationships through the Stoic lens, you begin to notice things like how we react to the vulnerabilities of others. Women, like men, have weaknesses, things that they might not show up front. And understanding these can help build better, more respectful relationships based on mutual understanding and empathy. One thing we don't always talk about openly is fear of rejection. Women, in many cases, have been conditioned to value their worth based on external validation. From a young age, women are often taught to seek approval, whether it's through appearance, achievements, or the relationships they form. This fear can manifest in different ways. Maybe it's hesitating to express themselves in relationships, or even avoiding intimacy because they're afraid of being vulnerable and hurt. But this fear is something that Stoics would say is not worth dwelling on. In fact, they would encourage us to focus on our own value, independent of external validation. If a woman feels rejected or misunderstood, it's important to acknowledge those feelings, but also to remind her, and ourselves, that no external circumstance can define our worth. Understanding this helps build healthier communication and removes unnecessary pressure in relationships. Women, especially in today's fast-paced world, often find themselves overthinking. And this doesn't just apply to big decisions. It could be about something as simple as a conversation or a text message. The tendency to replay interactions, doubting what was said or what was meant, is real. And while everyone, men and women, alike, have moments of self-doubt, for many women, it can feel more pronounced. This is where Stoicism shines again. Control what you can, and recognize that you are not your thoughts. Overthinking is a cycle that can lead to unnecessary anxiety. A Stoic mindset would suggest that instead of dwelling on every little thing, it's better to take a step back, assess the situation with logic, and focus on the things you can actually change. The more we can let go of unnecessary doubts, the stronger and more at peace we become. There's this intrinsic drive in many women to nurture, whether it's caring for others, supporting loved ones, or even trying to fix situations. It's part of what makes women so amazing, how they care and invest so deeply in relationships. But sometimes, this can lead to a sense of self-sacrifice. Women can feel like their own needs take a back seat to the needs of others. They may struggle to assert boundaries because they fear being perceived as selfish. Stoicism teaches us that balance is key. It's not about being selfish, but about ensuring that we don't lose ourselves in the process of caring for others. The Stoic belief is that in order to give our best to others, we first need to be whole and at peace with ourselves. If women, just like men, could learn to nurture themselves first, they'd be able to give even more to the people they love. We all know that criticism can sting, but for many women, even constructive criticism can be hard to take without internalizing it. Often, women might feel like they are being judged for their appearance, their actions, or their choices. And while sensitivity is a trait that adds to emotional depth, it can sometimes hold women back from fully embracing their personal growth. A Stoic would argue that the opinions of others are not our responsibility. We can only control our actions and how we respond. By practicing emotional detachment, not from people but from the fear of judgment, we can start to focus on what truly matters. And let's face it, constructive criticism can be a tool for growth, not a reflection of who we are as people. Control is another aspect where women sometimes feel trapped. Women often take on a lot of responsibility, whether in the family, at work, or in relationships. And when things start to spiral out of control, it can feel like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. But here's the beauty of Stoicism: acceptance of things outside of our control. Women don't have to carry the weight of the world. Understanding that some things just can't be controlled, and that's okay, helps take away that constant pressure. There's power in surrendering control and letting life unfold without unnecessary stress. This next one is something many women struggle with: the fear of being vulnerable. It's easy to understand why. Vulnerability often feels like opening the door to being hurt. Whether it's in love, friendships, or professional environments, putting yourself out there is a risk. However, vulnerability is also a source of strength. The Stoics believe that embracing what scares us is where true freedom lies. It's in letting our guard down and allowing ourselves to feel without shame. Vulnerability connects us on a deeper level with others, and the sooner we embrace it, the more we find true emotional resilience. Another common tendency for many women is people-pleasing. There's this constant drive to make others happy and avoid conflict at all costs. While this might seem like a positive trait on the surface, it often leads to neglecting one's own needs and desires. Over time, it can cause frustration and resentment. From a Stoic perspective, the idea is simple: live according to your own values, not the expectations of others. People-pleasing can cause us to lose touch with our true selves, but if we stay true to our beliefs and passions, we can be more authentic. In our relationships, women often experience emotions very intensely, whether it's joy, sadness, anger, or love. These strong emotional currents can sometimes feel overwhelming, especially when life's challenges arise. In Stoicism, emotions are seen as signals, not something to be avoided. The Stoic approach isn't to suppress emotions, but to examine and understand them. When emotions rise, we need to pause, reflect, and choose our response thoughtfully. Emotional intensity is a strength when we can navigate it wisely. Many women juggle a multitude of roles: career woman, mother, partner, friend, daughter. And while this can be empowering, it can also lead to burnout. The constant balancing act between professional and personal life can leave little room for self-care or rest. The Stoic approach would encourage prioritizing well-being. You cannot pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes. Setting boundaries. And being intentional about how energy is spent is key to thriving, not just surviving. Finally, many women, and men to be fair, experience FOMO, the fear of missing out. With social media constantly highlighting everyone's successes and experiences, it's easy to feel like we're not measuring up. A Stoic would remind us that true happiness comes from within. The need to constantly compare ourselves to others only breeds discontent. By embracing gratitude for what we have and focusing on our unique path, we can free ourselves from the comparison trap and find peace. And that's a wrap on our look at 10 hidden female weaknesses through the lens of Stoicism. What we've covered today isn't about labeling weaknesses as something negative, but rather understanding them so that we can grow and thrive. The beauty of Stoicism is that it teaches us how to deal with human vulnerabilities in a way that helps us become more resilient, compassionate, and connected. Remember, everyone has their own strengths and struggles, men and women alike. So, let's approach these challenges with understanding, kindness, and wisdom. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or any other topics you'd like to see covered. Stay stoic, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video.